Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
The number one reason people struggle to close deals is because they don't have enough money. And that's because they don't have enough passive investors waiting on the sidelines, itching to get in. Is this you? The only way to fix this is to flip the script so that instead of chasing money, money chases you. By flipping the script, other syndicators raise all the money they need in 48 hours or less. How do they do it? They apply the techniques that you'll learn at the virtual Raising Money Summit on October 1st through the 4th. Adam and his team are pulling back the curtains with top syndication experts to share their secrets, systems, processes that empower them to never struggle raising capital ever again. And you can learn this from home while watching online. Are you ready to start learning how to attract millions of dollars for your next real estate deal? Listeners get a special pricing of only $97 by texting Whitney to 55444. That's Whitney to 55444. This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Brian Wagers. Thanks for being on the show, Brian.
Thanks for having me, Whitney. Pleasure.
Brian is the founder of Wagers Capital, where he has grown a net worth of over $1 million and has over 300 doors valued at over $12 million, all under the age of 30. So I'm looking forward to this story, Brian. I know many of the listeners are attempting to accomplish the same thing, or even if they're over the age of 30, they're trying to get there. But he brings a focused dedication to the oversight of the portfolio, leveraging his local knowledge and relationships to execute their strategy. Brian is also logistics manager of a Fortune 500 company where he is the top broker in Northwest Arkansas and top 10 in his region. So, Brian, thank you again. Grateful for your time. You're definitely someone that's taking massive action at a young age. I love hearing those stories and seeing guys like yourself and gals, just making it happen and jumping out there. So I want to hear how you've done that. First, give us a little background on yourself and how you got into real estate, all those things. But I really want to get into your story because you've taken the action that so many need to.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Cincinnati. Went to the University of Kentucky to get my economics major there. Right after college, I joined a commission-based sales company. Worked there for about 3 years. And then I started to have an income problem. I was making a lot of money. I was working a lot of hours to get to where I was. And I wanted to figure out what I could do with this extra income, that I had worked so hard to do. And now, when you're in commission, you are part of that higher tax bracket. So seeing, so much of your commission come out towards taxes was pretty painful for me. So I started looking at, what are people in America doing to create wealth? And a lot of it was either real estate or stocks. So I had my company's 401k plan, so I was already doing the 6% towards my Roth IRA. But I looked at the stock market was my first venture, I should say. And it was just watching the stocks go up and down. I bought GoPro at $35, watched it go down to $5. So that was really fun experience. Right then, I think I knew, just watching, you couldn't do that as a day job and, watch the stocks all day. So I found bigger pockets. I think a lot of people get started, finding the free resources on there. I knew I wanted to get into real estate. So about 4 years ago, I bought a single family house. It was great. The mortgage was $500. I rented it out for $950. I managed it myself. Everything was going good, but I was just doing the math and it was going to take way too long to get to where I wanted to be, as a passive income standpoint, tax benefit standpoint. So something I heard early on was find a niche. So, that a lot of people that I listened to went into commercial real estate. And the most common thing they would say was, I wish I would have got started in commercial real estate earlier. I wish I would have, started getting into multifamily earlier. So it was something that kind of clicked with me, seeing the economies of scale of multifamily, being able to hire professional property management. So, I read every book you could, went to a couple of different seminars, listened to your podcast, would search all podcasts for multifamily, and just read and listen as much as I could. And, built up a little confidence, and I found a 12 unit on market. I had finally convinced a friend to invest with me on the deal. I had shown them what I was doing with the single family. I showed them all the numbers on the multifamily, the 12 unit property. And once they had agreed to, talked with his wife, said, okay, we'll finance that, the down payment, the 12 unit was off the market. So I kept following up with a broker, and apparently the deal fell through. So, I was there ready to go. And that was 12 units. That was about 1 year after the single family unit. And then here we are about 4 years since that first single family. Today, so on your introduction, it said 300 units. Right now I'm at 350. So we actually closed on a 50 unit a couple weeks ago. So
nice. Congratulations.
Yeah. Appreciate
so what's your
it.
main mode of operation now? Are you syndicating deals? Are you, what's your asset class of choice now?
So that's a great question. So everything I've done today has either been by myself. I've even seller financed a 20 unit deal. And everything I've done up to this point has been joint venturing. So all either myself or joint venturing, but now, I'm looking to, do a true syndication. So everything I've built so far has been just joint venturing, but I've been able to retire my wife, or retire. So now she's doing the marketing. She built her website. She's putting content out on Instagram, Facebook. So she's got a little bit of background in marketing. So it's great having her be able to spearhead that, so we can start, letting more people know about the benefits, and
nice.
Hopefully, going into that true syndication.
Yeah. So, $1 million net worth by age of 30. I want to hear just some actionable steps that you took. A massive action, right? And we hear that, you had mentioned it earlier before we even recorded, like that word's so often used in our space, but it's so true. If you're, you have to take some massive action and not be afraid to step out there, right? I've heard it, from so many people who have had success in this business and many businesses. At some point, they had to just put themselves out there. They had to take steps forward and really get out of their comfort zone ultimately. So what did that look like for you, to make this happen and to where you really started to gain some traction?
Yeah, that was a big thing for me. Going to school for economics, you're always taught to analyze everything to death, and that was something I had to unteach myself. Just, taking action before you think you're ready. I think putting yourself in a situation to where you may have to look up an answer or look something up. But for me, I Googled, my first step was I Googled every commercial lender in my area. So I just searched commercial lender, Northwest Arkansas. And I got a list of 10 people, called each bank. Hey, do you guys, can I speak with someone in your commercial lending department? And then from there, do you guys finance apartment buildings? And from there, usually a lot of the commercial lending people, when they hear apartment building, they perk up a little bit, because even the banks know it's a good, sound investment, especially local banks, when you show them your business plan. So that was a thing for me and then I did the same thing with commercial brokers, got a list of all the commercial brokers in my area. Some people search LoopNet. So you might not be able to find a good apartment deal on LoopNet, but you can find good commercial brokers on LoopNet selling other asset classes. So sometimes on LoopNet, you might be finding someone who's selling an office building or something, of that nature. And you call them and ask them, and you kind of tell them what you want to do. For me, that was finding C class apartments in B areas and renovating them and fixing them up to get them to that B level, and telling them about what your plan was. So that was for me, just, finding each person in your team that you want to have and getting a list of people in the area and just calling them, just not being afraid to fumble over your words a little bit or not knowing the right answer, but just calling and getting that conversation going. And I think with each different conversation, it gets a little bit easier, it gets a little bit more flowing. So
that, you had that 12 unit and you found somebody to partner with you or to finance ultimately the down payment for that property. Tell us about convincing that partner, or, how did you meet this person? Is this someone that you've known a long time? What was that relationship like for them to trust you and, in that way to come in and do that?
Yeah. So it was a lot of back and forth. It was actually my fiance at the time's father. So my now father-in-law, but he
so hopefully the deal went good.
Yeah. So he actually ended up joint venturing with me with a lot of other deals here. So it did go pretty good. But that conversation, he owned 10 single family homes free and clear. And it was almost just an education about leveraging in a good way, showing them, how debt can be beneficial. So he had been through, different financial crisis and, he wanted to be, as safe as possible. So it was a lot of back and forth with him, with his wife, so I printed out spreadsheets. I made pie graphs. So just showing them the visual tools of it, telling them about the tax benefits of the commercial real estate. So I think it was just, getting over that, education standpoint about commercial real estate and showing them, hey, here's what would happen worst case scenario. We have a couple of tenants move out, we're still looking good, so I think showing them the downside and the upside, not just selling the upside was I think added a little more trust. Here's what happens if we have to bring the rents down. The rents are trending up, but here's what could happen if, they went down for some reason. So I think it was just. What
did the next deals look like? I mean, obviously, most people run out of money, right? They start buying a few deals and it's hard to get to the next one. Where does the down payment come from? And, so how did you do that? How did you continue to do deals?
Yeah. So my next deal, it was a seller financing deal. I was driving for dollars, which is going around looking for different buildings and writing down the addresses, looking up the addresses, the owners on the county assessor website. I was sending out a lot of mail and trying to, see if anyone was interested. I was going after what looked like distressed properties. Yeah, so maybe vacant landlords is a good one to search, but I used seller financing on that second deal, which was a 20-unit deal. The owner was ready to sell. He actually lived in Oklahoma, about 2 hours away, and he was self-managing it. So I used seller financing on that deal. Same bank that I financed a 12-unit with, showed them what the numbers were doing on the 12-unit, and they were ready to finance that. And then after that, I did another 12-unit deal shortly after that 20-unit deal. And I was able to pull out enough equity in my first 12-unit deal because it was pretty distressed. And part of that promissory note was to include renovations. I was able to pull enough money out of that first 12-unit to use as a down payment for the next 12-unit too. So actually, refinance that first 12-unit into another 12-unit. So at that point, I had 44 units, and I was feeling pretty, confident. So started making offers on deals. My fourth deal, I was able to. My commercial broker saw what I was doing, and he ended up being a partner on that fourth deal. and my father-in-law ended up being another separate partner. And then my property manager was actually one of the other partners on that deal too. So got everybody
They had some
involved
faith in you and the deal, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, having that track record, I had done 3 deals at that point, knew the processes, and starting to get more confident for sure.
On a different note, slightly, you went to college, you got this degree, and now, you're building this business in real estate. And I just wonder, because I bet there's some listeners wondering too, would you go back to, knowing what you know now, would you still have got the college degree?
That's such a good question, because my wife and I are at the point of, we're having kids, and, it's obviously way down the road, but it's a thought, like, am I going to make my kid, or not make, but tell them to go to college or start the business? But I think, I'd probably leave it up to them. For me, college was about the experience. I learned a lot. I made a lot of good friends and good connections that, some people who are now going to probably invest with me, with my company. So, I think I think it was good. It taught me how to think, not necessarily practical, this is what you do, but it kind of taught me, problem solving, deductive reasoning. So I would definitely go to college. I don't think I would still be here where I am. Maybe I would be in a different state or somewhere else, but I think, yeah, it just depends on the person, really, what you're looking to get out of. I think a good business foundation is good. You can learn a lot of good business principles, and being able to complete something, I think, was another, being able to finish college was a good sense of accomplishment.
Sure. So with your portfolio, how do you prepare for a downturn?
Yeah, that's another good question. I think, doing stress tests on all your properties, doing stress tests on future properties. I think right now on my personal portfolio, I'm not taking anything out of it. Everything's going back into renovations. And so, I'm getting them ready for if we do have vacancies, I want the units to be ready to go. So not skimping on anything right now. When we do have that surplus, I think it's best to reinvest it back in the property. And my partner is fine with that too on the deals that I have a couple partners on. Everybody is fine with that. So I think it just depends on the deal. But I definitely stress testing, not being aggressive with rent increases, not being aggressive with vacancy decreases. So
what do you predict, is going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months just in the real estate market?
I think there'll be some good buying opportunities, is what I would predict if I had a crystal ball. But it seems like there's a lot of deals out there right now, or that people are like wanting to sell, but they're still wanting those high prices. And I think buyers, have a sense of hesitation because we're not really sure what's going to happen. It's an election year. We don't, big changes could be happening with the 1031 exchange if it goes one way or the other. So I think it's going to be, I think in November we'll have a better answer, of where we're going for sure. But I do think there'll be some buying opportunities in Q1. So right now for me, just, putting everything I have back into the business and getting ready for those opportunities. I'm still making offers and still looking for deals. But it does seem like people still want the prices of 2019. But, just stay strong in your underwriting and stay smart with what your goal is.
Knowing what you know now, what would you have done different on that first deal?
It's a good question. I probably wouldn't have put as much. I spent quite a bit on a parking lot. I don't know that I got the return on the parking lot. It was just a 12 unit. So, we spent about like $35,000 on the parking lot. It looks great. I mean, it makes a curb appeal go well, but I think I maybe could have used that more for interior renovations. Maybe I think I would have asked my property manager at the time what his opinion was as far as what we think could get the maximum rents for there. So maybe I could have put that money somewhere else. So I think not being afraid to ask the property manager what he thought was the highest and best use of our renovation budget. So that's probably what I would have done differently on that.
Great advice. Seek counsel, especially from
Yeah.
your management company, right?
Right.
So what's a way you've recently improved your business that we could apply to our business?
I think marketing, letting people know about my business. So, Jen, my wife, she's taken full steam ahead on that. So start a Facebook page, start an Instagram page, go to, everyone talks about local meetups. Local meetups are great too. Just opening your mouth, letting more people know. Don't be a secret, letting more people know what you're doing. A lot of people want to get involved in real estate more than you think. So I think just putting yourself out there more is good. So that's something we've done. Spent a little bit of money on marketing, and so excited about that.
What's your best source for meeting new investors right now?
Right now we're using YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So that's our main focus right now. I think I could probably spend more time on Bigger Pockets. I've got a Bigger Pockets webpage, but I think putting value on Bigger Pockets would be a good one, and then local meetups would be another good one that I'm going to start doing more.
What's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
We spoke about it. Taking action. It's a word used a lot. And I think sales and real estate, just when you think you're, a little bit too tired to do something, just push, do one more, call one more investor, call one more lender, call one more broker. I think, just even when you don't feel like it, try to do a little bit more.
If you had to pick just, a couple of things that you could share with the listener that was the most important times where you took action, or maybe it was even uncomfortable, right? You stepped out of your comfort zone. What would a couple of those things be?
I think talking to the first couple commercial brokers was, out of my comfort zone. I didn't, what if they asked me about what type of cap rates? I didn't know about cap rates. I didn't know about, vacancy, economic vacancy rates. And so I think, just start the conversation, talking to those brokers is a good one. Nice.
Well, yeah, it's an amazing story. And I just want to be the first, or one of the first probably of many, to congratulate you, Brian, on just the accomplishment, before you're even 30. And so congratulations to you and your wife and your father-in-law, right?
Yeah.
So, thank you again for having you on the show, but tell us how you like to give back.
So my wife, she's a big animal lover. So right now we're giving back to the SPCA here in local. So that's how we're giving back currently. I'd like to eventually start, an educational, some sort of business educational for kids, something in the area. So that's something we're looking at in the future as well.
Nice. Well, thanks again for sharing your story. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have a free ebook on our website, wagerscapital.com/wealth plan. Just a nice little PDF document my wife put together about diversifying your portfolio and building wealth. So wagerscapital.com is a great way to reach out. We're on all the social medias as well, Facebook and Instagram. So you can look us up there.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.